welcome to Taking Over. I am, of course, OLED Ed Fries, joined as always by the natural Ash Mazzaro. And tonight is a special edition of Taking Over as we have a special guest. You might know him as Javier Bernal. You might know him as Big Body Javi, but you're about to know him as the core kid, Javi. Javi, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And man, that intro is really, really cool. I wish it was longer. I was kind of vibing to it over here.
We had somebody on the live stream last night who said you have to play the intro for Javi because we have to know if he likes it or not.
I think it's phenomenal. Whoever did it was obviously very talented. It sounds great.
Well, thank you to OnLap for that. We greatly appreciate it. Javier Bernal's side of approval, so that's always good. Javi, thank you for joining us. You're getting ready to start the Indie Tour. We have your dates right next to me here. Mm-hmm. They're a little small, but we'll go over all of those a little bit later on. How is it getting ready for an Indie Tour as opposed to going ahead and getting ready to do the Florida Loop or getting ready to do anything else with NXT?
Honestly, part of me feels a little bit more excited for it. Do the Florida Loops in NXT is really fun and all that. And then, obviously wrestling in front of, the PC crowd and having done, going to main events in various states and stuff like that. It's really fun and all that. With this, it's kind of a journeyman type of deal. And, my dad was a musician for 40 years and I was kind of a baby on the road. And, so it's kind of a lifestyle that I'm used to is I just kind of a nomadic lifestyle in a way. So it's kind of exciting, preparing for it. It's one of those things where, you don't get prepared, you stay prepared, you stay ready. So that way, when the opportunity arises, it's always there. So, to be honest, I haven't done a whole lot different. Obviously, I don't have a performance center to my disposal, but I've been training at my gear makers, a ring, JCJ Gear. Shout out to them. I've been training at their ring. I actually have a gym in my garage that me and Tatum have kind of built up over the years. So we have kind of a real gym set up down there. Sometimes I'll get down to the pool in the community and do a little aqua jog because I'm not very good at swimming. So, but to be honest, preparing, honestly, it's been a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of selling myself, which is pretty easy in the sense that if you put yourself out there, somebody will see you, and that's that's the easiest way to go about things, just putting yourself out there,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to your time in NXT because obviously that's our introduction to you, being that we were always watching, always campaigning for you, as we always say, the hashtag Big Body Javi. But we wanted to know about the behind the scenes aspect of it that a lot of people don't get to know about. So what was your learning experience in the PC?
Well, first of all, thank you. I do remember you guys supporting me over the years, and it does mean a lot. So thank you guys for that, first and foremost. It does mean the world to me. Behind the scenes, it's kind of weird because experiences differ from person to person. Sometimes it's weird because sometimes you go in and it's just work. It's just like your regular 9 to 5. You go in, you put in your time, and you go home. Other days, it's feels different, and I think a lot of things are personal because you're putting your body on the line. Like I'm getting dropped on my head 5 days, 7 days out of the week. When I hear certain things, I'm going to be protective of of everything because I am at risk with my line of work and what I'm doing. So every day brings a new challenge, and that's the same with any job. As far as working at the PC, in the PC, you always have these things that you want to make sure that you're doing. You want to make sure you're on your P's and Q's. You're going to your classes. You're going to your promo classes. You're going to your ring sessions. You're going to the gym. And it's one of those things where I pride myself on being a hard worker and going to everything, even the optional things. I would get. We have these things where we go into extra-ring, and that's how you get better and all that. My first 2 months there, I was put on TV rather quickly, and it's stuff like that just doesn't happen. You don't just roll over and it happens. You just are ready, or you are prepared, and it's time to go, you know? So every day brings a different struggle, different thing. And honestly, if you're different people got different experiences. For me, you know, I always took initiative, and yet sometimes it would kind of fall flat sometimes, and not that it would fall flat because they were bad ideas, fall flat because I maybe didn't ask the right person, or I didn't go through the proper channels, and there's no way of knowing that unless you do it and make a mistake. You know, a story comes to mind where I was doing a story on TV, and I wanted to get a ring vest, and I still have it. And it's never been seen on TV, and I probably will never use it. But you know, it has a word on the back of it, and you know, I got told by the office, why are you trying to pull one over on us? And at that point, I had never gotten my gear approved. Nobody had ever asked me, hey, I need you to prove. I need you to show me your gear and get approved or anything like that. And I just kept running into things like that where if you know me, and anybody that knows me knows that I follow the rules to a T. And I pride myself on always doing the right thing. So whenever I got caught in these situations, I'm like, I don't know, I don't know why, why things have to be so sensitive. It's like, hey, yes or no, that's it, so it's one of those things where different people will experience different things, and it's not good, right, or bad. It is what it is. It's with any job that you go anywhere.
Yeah. We often joke on the show about the level of relationships that have come out of the Performance Center. Astrid calls it NXT Love Island because it just seems like the couples constantly appear. Did you find it interesting to find the love of your life in the wrestling business, in the PC, and in NXT?
It's weird because, me and my wife, that I think saying wife is kind of what puts us apart, for one. Me and her are both very, very similar. We go to work, we do the right things, we don't step on people's toes, we try to do the right things, and we go home. We have a little family with a cat and a dog. That's what I'm straight edge, so I'm boring as it is, and then she doesn't do anything either. We might go to a concert, we'll go out to dinner, maybe we'll take a trip, but we don't do anything, right? And there's nothing wrong with anybody that wants to do all the things. That's fine. It's just, both me and her, we click in that way, and I think, I've heard the Love Island thing on, not just you guys, but like on the internet, and you see a lot of those things pop up. I think that with me and my wife, it's there's a difference there because she's my wife. I married her in front of everybody, in front of God, in front of everybody, and it's one of those things where our priorities, as you get older, as you progress in life, whatever it is that some people choose to change, their priorities change. And for us, it's just us and our little family. That's what's important to us. Excuse me.
I wanted to go back also about your background in NXT with your character, because obviously for a lot of us watching NXT on a weekly basis, we see you develop as you go through time. So I wanted to know about your character and how you developed that character within NXT.
So my early character with the big body Javi stuff, you could obviously see in the way that I presented myself and my gear that I was a big fan of Chris Jericho. And a lot of things were inspired by Chris Jericho. The big body files, for example, with the list and everything like this, that was very inspired by by Chris Jericho. And I love, like his work, and I love, I always thought, oh man, when I'm a wrestler, I want to be like that, where I'm wrestling and then I have a band and I'm writing books and I'm acting on TV show. Like that to me is like what I want to do. So as far as NXT concerns, like that's part of how, it came about. Like I came in thinking, I want to do this Steel Panther Van Halen sort of gimmick. I think it's fun. It's kind of outside of myself. And I think, you know, some people are like, oh, you need to, your gimmick, your character, whatever it is, needs to be an extension of yourself. And honestly, it can or it can't be. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You know, when you think of characters, gimmicks in wrestling, all the good ones, all the people that you remember, it's the same way as life. You're never the same person your entire way through, right? You know, you're one way in high school, then in college you're like this, and then when you're in your 20s you're like that. You know, there's peaks and valleys, or there's differences in your personality. And it's the same way with wrestling. Like I want to be able to show that I can show range, right? And you know, big body Javi, like, you know, when I presented it didn't go out exactly the way that I would have that I presented it, but at the same time, like, you know, it's me versus, it's not versus, but it's me, you know, collaborating with a bunch of different people on the creative writing team, and you know, we have to try to match our ideas all together. And so, you know, for me, big body Javi was this like almost body positive, I don't know if body positive, but like positive mentality, you know, and in a world where there's a bunch of giants, I am going to be the one to call myself big body because that's confidence. But you know, a lot of it was inspired by, like, you know, Van Halen and Steel Panther, and you know, obviously Chris Jericho was a big influence on me. Shawn Michaels was a big influence on me. So as far as how that character developed early on in NXT, that was for me where that came from. And then, you know, when I got hurt, you know, I had time to think about things, what I want to do when I come back. And you never should come back the same person, or if you do, there should be something to you that sticks with people. And for me, you know, I would go to concerts all the time, metal concerts, and people were like, "Oh, I didn't Javi," and you know, it's a running joke with me and my wife. Like, I think people, you know, acknowledge you and recognize you more than me. It's like, well, I mean, I am, like, you know, always out and about, and like I'm a little bit more outgoing, or more extroverted, I should say. But people would recognize me, like, I didn't know you listened to that. And I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I do listen to this type of music. These are my people. And so that's part of where the idea came from. So I'm like, all right. So, you know, while I was out, I wrote a song, and I had all these like ideas ready and everything. And that's kind of where that idea started on when I returned on Evolve. You know, I really love the idea of coming back. You know, people like me now, and I'm coming back from this injury, and going through this is something that I think is very relatable. Is this, you know, I wasn't the same person. I'm not the same person that I was back then. You know, I'm shedding these preconceived notions of myself, that I'm an arrogant a-hole. I'm this or I'm that. You know, like, you know, I'm big body Javi, but I'm not that guy anymore. And then, you know, continually to becoming who I want to be, which is, you know, like the emo guy, or the metalcore guy, the guy that, you know, represents everybody that was picked on because they look a little different, or because they talk a little different, because their interests are different. And to be honest, it's weird. I have never seen someone get backlash for having a character like that before. And then I posted out there, and I've got all kinds of weird homophobic, racist comments, and it's weird. I mean, it comes with the territory of being a public figure, and I mean, like, I'm not you know, I'm not unfamiliar with getting those comments. And you know, I love wrestling and wrestling fans, but sometimes some wrestling fans are not very good people. You know, when you hide behind the internet. And it was one of those things where it proved my point. You know, I'm out here doing something different. I'm out here standing up for people that don't fit the status quo. And it was, you know, and it's not anything that I'm doing. I'm not doing a gimmick that's offensive, or a gimmick, or it's not a gimmick, but I'm not doing anything that's, I'm not doing anything that is anything other than telling people to be themselves. That was it. That's the basis of the metalcore gimmick, is that I just want people to be themselves. Yes, music is heavily tied to that, but the essence is what I mean to say. The essence of the character is being yourself. So I thought, well, anybody that reached out, you know, I had, for every hate comment, I had 1,000 likes, you know, so it's not like one of those things that, you know, totally bothers me because, what, Mike Tyson always says it best, like the internet has made it very, very comfortable for people to talk a bunch of smack and not get punched in the face, because nobody would ever say that in real life, under the guys, nobody ever would. So it's been fun. I get heat as a bad guy, and then when I'm a good guy, I get heat from bad people, and it's kind of fun because it's always a little fun to get a little interaction with like that,
Yeah. Speaking on the whole music gimmick and things like that, I'm a 40-year-old white man who grew up on 60s and 70s music, went to high school during the height of bubblegum pop. Can you explain to me what core kids are? Because I don't know.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the honesty there. So Core Kids is stems from the metalcore movement of the early 2000s, punk and metal put together, right? Very heavy on breakdowns, on a lot of singing where people like to sing along with each other. And Core Kids might be synonymous with an emo kid. There's a lot of weird mixture with the genre there, but that's right. But to be honest, a core kid is essentially someone who listens to metalcore. Metalcore bands like Avenged Sevenfold, old Avenged Sevenfold, As I Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage. The best for maybe the best frame of reference is if you remember CM Punk's old theme song, "This Fire Burns." That's metalcore. So that's a good frame of reference. So people who listen to that kind of music, and there's a lot of cultural importance behind those things. So like the lyrics are often, tackling very serious topics or uplifting topics. So metalcore is very mental health heavy when it comes to the lyrics. It is very much talking about introspection and reflecting on yourself, and talking about serious topics like suicide, self-harm, or love and hate and anger, and how do I become a better person. The gimmick that, kind of before I did the metalcore thing, I was doing this like almost recovering addict, born again Christian thing, and I really loved it because that's, I think, is an important story. And even if you've never had a past or anything like that, anything weird, we all think about, man, I was a weird kid in high school. Like, so you think about it and you're like, oh man, I did something kind of weird. That's the past. So it's not me anymore. So even if it's nothing serious, we all have something in the past that we don't like to think about, something that we want to put behind us, and we want to move forward, that we can always become a new person and a better version of ourselves. And in essence, that's like a lot of what the movement is about.
Thank you. That really helps explain it to me. You just mentioned mental health. As May was Mental Health Awareness Month, one of the things that affects my mental health is judging myself too harshly, my place in this space and in other places, and judging my work too harshly. How difficult is it to keep a level head while competing against your friends, your partner, and other people that you know, and you have to compete against these people in order to get TV time, which is so valuable, especially in NXT?
It's very difficult to think about that sort of thing. And anybody will tell you that. And it's weird because I don't see it as competing. Obviously it is, but I don't see it as competing. And I've had this conversation with my friends and my wife and family. Like, I feel a lot of the times that good people get punished for being good people. I thoroughly believe that. And it's unfortunate that it happens. I put somebody on, but they don't put me on, and it's one of those things. You feed someone else, but you don't get to eat. And sometimes maybe that is true. I don't know. I like to think that the world. I like to think that God rewards effort. I hope that that's true. I think God does reward effort, or the universe, or whatever it is that you believe in. But but sometimes, one of those things where you can't. I don't know. I guess it's weird because, offering your time is very valuable. And I bring up offering your time is like being in the ring with somebody, like getting extra reps in, or hey, you want to work on this move with me, or whatever the case may be. It does weigh on you because you think, man, I'm working really hard, and I don't see that guy working as hard as I do. And not to say that there are people that aren't working hard, but it's just, I was always told that comparison is the thief of joy, but sometimes it's hard not to compare yourself, especially when you're busting your ass. You're good. You have every reason to be in X position, Y position, whatever it is. It can be frustrating. It can weigh on you. I've definitely had some moments where I just didn't understand. I kept getting told, be patient, be patient, be patient. And not everybody follows the rules. Not everybody does the right things. And again, that's any company. That's not WWE respective. It's not a WWE bad. Like you go, I mean, if you work a corporate job, it's the same thing. If you work at Walmart, if you work at Publix, Target, wherever, it's the same thing. And I'm sure in your guys' circle, with doing wrestling content, I'm sure it's very much the same thing. It's you think that helping other people out is a good thing, and it is. Like it is, and I it's hard to not get discouraged on helping people. It's hard not to get discouraged and thinking positively, but sometimes it just gets you. There's just no other way around it. I never found it as competition because I know what I bring to the table. I know that I'm damn good, and I know that once I'm given the opportunity, then it doesn't matter. But it's one of those things where it's one of those. I need that opportunity. I need, I can't, if I just say it all day long, it doesn't matter until I'm given that opportunity.
One thing I did want to ask before we leave off with you is because it's something that's really important to me, and I think we have probably a similar feeling when it comes to this, because I'm Latina myself, and I know you're Latino as well. We do have representation that it's, I don't want to say lacking, but you have like minimal representation in some aspects of it. I feel like it keeps growing little by little, but not as much as we want it to. So being that we're both Latinos and Hispanic, how important is that representation to you? Not only on screen, but be able to show it in your character as well somehow.
I think I was very proud that I was able to show that we had Colombians that were wrestling fans or wrestlers, and then there was a lot of them. I've had so many messages, so many emails, and you get some where that are like, very hateful or whatever, but like the love is more powerful than the hate. Excuse me, is more powerful than the hate. And I've seen countless amount of comments talking about how thank you. I didn't think I'd ever see a Colombian in the WWE. So thank you for opening that door for us. I am very frustrated about a lot of things. I'm very thankful for a lot of things with respect to WWE, but I'm also very frustrated. And I thought that, Colombia being represented for the first time ever. I was the first ever Colombian on any sort of WWE programming. Anytime I did anything, I was the first Colombian to do it. And I think that was pretty freaking cool. But unfortunately, like, it's one of those things where, when you think of Colombia, you think of Shakira, you think of Sofia Vergara, but but we don't have like this wide range of representation. And I thought it was cool that I was, and I'm like, I was pushing and pushing, and I always push, and maybe that's my problem. I don't know. Maybe I push too much, but I was always pushing. I'm like, man, look, we have something here. I'm the first of something. Let's use something to do it. There's a lot of Colombians that are fans. There's a lot of Colombians in Orlando that come to the show. There's a lot of Colombians in Florida that come to the NXT shows. Whenever we go on the road to PLEs in New York or California, we have a lot of Colombians. We're everywhere. Colombians are everywhere, right? I scratch my head sometimes. I'm like, maybe I don't know, but I think it's very important, and I really wish that I continued to do Colombian Americans right as I move forward. That's the thing. It's something that nobody can ever take away from me, that I'm the first. I am the first, and currently I'm the only. So as far as that goes, it's very important. And hopefully somebody who's Colombian sees that and is like, well, thank you for opening the door. And at some point, I'm sure I'll get a phone call back. I have no reservations about my future, because I know I'm going to keep wrestling, and I know I'm going to keep being very, very good at it. So I have no reservations that I'll continue representing my people.
We've started to see, based on your social media, the interests of people that you want to work with. Cedric Alexander, Dijak, Effie. Who else is on your independent wish list for competition?
I've got quite a few. So you've already mentioned Cedric, Effie, and Dijak. I mentioned a while back on a different interview and even online, like I mentioned Trevor Lee. Me and him actually, I believe he was my first real match on NXT TV. And I look back and I'm like, man, I'm so much better now. I'm so much better now. I'm ready to put on a banger with him. So I'd love to work Trevor Lee. Matt Cardona, me and him were on a show at Reality of Wrestling maybe a year and some change ago, when he tore his pec, actually. I would love to wrestle him. Nick Namath, he is a bucket list person for me for sure. I met him very, very briefly at the Performance Center when he came by in NXT in the early days. Very short, very just, high and by. But he took the time to talk to me and speak with me, and I just thought it was really cool. He's a down to earth guy. Of course, I got buddies all over the place. So my buddy Zach Wentz, I'd love to mix it up with him. Zach Wentz, I'd love to work him. Down to Reality Wrestling, they have some guys down there too. I'd love to wrestle Will All Day, Danny Limelight. So I'm ready to get out and get everywhere. I'm sure I have I'm to not, I don't want to drill you guys with a million names, but there's a million guys on my list. And those are the ones that, off the top of my head that I can give you that I just, I think we can make some magic happen, and the thing is that I just always want to be putting on a good show, a good match. And it's always about the fans. Like it shouldn't ever be about me or about my opponent. It should be about the fans. It should always be, I don't want to get too cute about a lot of things all the time. I just want it to be about the fans. If it results in things going for me, great. But I need to be thinking about the people that are watching me doing this.
One of the names that I want to throw onto your list, if you haven't heard about it, is former Colombian, now born and bred in Lowell, Massachusetts, Mortar, up here in my neck of the woods in Boston. He is the Chaotic Wrestling Champion. I know you're going to be up in Enfield for the Luau. So hopefully maybe you can get some work up here up in Chaotic and get a match with their world champion, Mortar.
I would love to.
Colombian might be a lot of fun.
I would love to. There's actually the Northeast. I have a lot of friends up there. Rex Lawless is another name up there that I'd love to work. But yeah, I'd love to work him. I'd love to do a Colombian versus Colombian gimmick there. So I'd love to work the Northeast. I'm actually going to be in New York. I don't know when this interview is going to come out, but June 5th. So for me, it's tomorrow. For a signing, and then at the end of the month, I'll be back in the Northeast for Blitzkrieg. So I'm super excited, and I hope I'm up there all the time.
I hope so too, because I didn't get a chance to get tickets to Blitzkrieg, so I'm hoping for another one.
Well, all I'm saying is if everybody wants me around, you got to let them know.
Well, trust me, I always let Chaotic know when I want people to come. They don't always listen, though. All right, a couple rapid fire questions just to see how some of your quick thoughts. Sure. Football or soccer?
Football.
Okay. Schoolwork or sports?
Sports.
All right. Big Body Javi or Defend Core Kids?
Defend Core Kids.
Favorite wrestling match you've ever had?
Me versus Axiom.
Okay. Favorite match you've ever watched live?
Chris Jericho versus CM Punk, WrestleMania 28.
Okay. Favorite match that you've ever watched in general? So television, whatever.
Either one of the Shawn versus Taker matches at WrestleMania.
Favorite band or musician?
As I Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage, or Avenged Sevenfold.
Okay. Best piece of advice that you've ever received outside of the business?
Outside of the business. Keep moving.
Best piece of advice you've ever received in the wrestling business?
Have fun and don't take things too seriously.
And of course, one of my favorites, the best traveling partner for the Florida Loop, not named Tatum Paxson.
I don't travel with anyone else. You know what? You know what? A second would be Joe Gacy.
Okay. Ashton?
Yeah, no, I've traveled. Yeah, me and him have actually traveled a few times for some shows.
The last question that I had on my end, because I've been that you talked a little bit about it, outside of the PC, do you and Tatum kind of bounce off ideas of each other when you're together too?
Absolutely. I assume you mean like like moves and ideas. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're always talking about things. You know, sometimes and it goes in waves because if you're at work all the time, if you're wrestling all the time, sometimes you just want to clock out and not think about it. You know, and I love it, but at the same time, you know, I don't want to get burnt out by it. So I was like very up in waves, but we talk about it all the time. It's like, oh, you should do this or you should do that. You should do this. So we're always talking about it. You know, we very much influence each other. So a move you've seen her do or you've seen me do is likely inspired by one or the other.
Since the pandemic, wrestlers doing streaming has started to become more and more common. What is it that you find about streaming that drives you to continue to do it?
Honestly, I think it's a good way to connect to people that connect with me. You know, the world is so serious. I don't ever talk about politics. I don't ever talk about current events or serious things, but I just want it to be an escape for people, a safe space for people to be themselves, to enjoy. You know, it's a place for people to hang out and not take things too seriously. And you know, I wish when I was younger that, you know, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Edge had a stream where I could just like pop in, ask a question, and like have them react and say something. I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes me feel special, you know, like, and you know, I have a very tight knit community, and I think part of the reason is because of the Twitch, because I try to be on there as often. I mean, I try to be there on there as often as I can, and especially, you know, sometimes you need a certain light at the end of your day, and if sometimes like just watching some dude goof off or talk to you for a little bit, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I think sometimes we just need time away from the world.
Recovering from injury is always hard. What were some of the things that you did to keep yourself sane while not being able to work out or get back in the ring?
To be honest, it was awful keeping myself sane. My wife is a very lovely human being, so she helped me out a lot. But beyond her, a lot of it was getting ready to come back and to. It sucks because you you can't come back soon, but coming back, like I wrote the song with a friend of mine from the High Ground, the band The High Ground. They're a local band here in Orlando. Matt Brown and I, we got together and wrote my theme song. And that song I wanted to give to WWE. I wanted to sell. I didn't want to make any money off of it. I didn't care about anything other than I was like, I want people to hear this. I want people to know what this is. So that was a big part of it. I'm like, man, this is going to be really cool if they let me do this. And especially like I figured there's no way they're not going to want me to do this. There's no profanity in it. There's nothing offensive about it. And it's free, you know, they're getting a song for free and they're going to make money off it. But unfortunately, you know, like I said, I push and I push and I push. And sometimes you're not the one that gets picked, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I totally get that. So, but to answer your question, honestly, writing that song was very cathartic. If you listen to a lot of the lyrics, it's very meaningful to me. I think it's going to be very meaningful to a lot of people, and it's very inspirational. I just want to inspire people. I'm sure there's plenty of people that want to inspire people, but I want to be one of the very few that actually means it.
One thing that I was curious about, because once we set up this interview with you, I knew I had to ask you this question. We had a lot of fun always watching you in your interviews with McKenzie. So did you guys plan all that out beforehand, or how did that work out between you two?
A lot of it's very organic. So I will say this much. The one that I think that I find is set apart from all of them is the Big Body Products interview. And because that in the PC, we have these things called promo class where you go in, you got a promo and you kind of get better at it, whatever. Right. And I did that promo by myself in a promo class. I wrote that segment and it went on TV. So a lot of it was like, how can we make this funnier? Well, what would be better this way? You know, she's great because she plays a very good straight face person. I'm very, very happy for her that she's doing, she's out in TNA and she's doing all the things that she's doing. I'm very happy for her. And she's great. I'm always, open to ideas. I think wrestling is a very collaborative experience. And to be honest, like her being there to bounce ideas. How can we make this better? How can we make it funny? How can we push the envelope and do it safely? I felt very cool about my segment, but the segment that I wrote, because I got to say BBC on live television. It's like such a crazy thing that I think about, like, how the hell did I get away with that? And it makes me think back to like the early days of, like the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, like wrestling pushing the envelope. And I was like, I want to do that, and especially since I'm doing something fun. I'm not doing anything super overly serious. This is great. And because I know that I'll have time to do serious things at some point in my career. But right now I want people to know, like, hey, you guys can, you guys might not like me now, but I'm going to win you over. And I think that was kind of my goal with that. So, it was always very organic, for sure.
Last question for me is, we're seeing more and more wrestlers getting some sort of a college education, continuing to go to college, the NIL program. Why was being a student athlete at McAllister College so important to you before you found wrestling?
It's weird because I don't know. I mean, it's okay. I do know, but I'm being a McAllister College student athlete, student first, is one of the best educations you can get in the world. To further talk about McAllister and all this, like, we have a lot of very high level intellectual professors there and people that can guide you along the way. I mean, I myself am, I have a degree in pre-med, computer science, and I'm a data science minor. So I'm like 3 different disciplines. A lot of people don't know that. And I don't try, it's weird. I was good at school, but I don't think I'm good at that sort of thing. It's just not something I've always wanted to be entertaining. I'm good at getting through school. My brother, who's a computer science major, he's since graduated, he has a degree in computer science, is a much smarter person than I am. But like I'm certainly more extroverted. And I think what that taught me is that you don't have to necessarily be good at the intellectual stuff all the time, and I think sometimes being personable is almost more important than certain things. Being an athlete, obviously it teaches you discipline and all that. It teaches you that sometimes life isn't fair. No matter how good you are, if you're the best, sometimes it doesn't even matter, and it helps you swallow the pills of real life, pills of reality. Sometimes you can be good and it's just not your time yet, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a shot. That's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes it's just not in the cards for you at that moment, and maybe it will be at some point. So being a student athlete, I have had time to. I've been an athlete all my life, and I got a little bit into wrestling before WWE. I just they scooped me up before I could sink my teeth in. I've always been driven. Ask my wife, ask anybody in my family, ask anybody that is around me. If you tell me no, I'm just gonna keep going until I hear a yes. I am very motivated now. Because I can kind of take things into my own hands. Like I said, not everybody gets an opportunity, and that's okay. And that's just how life is. It's not a bad thing, or it is, but it's not. It's not like I'm not going to talk smack because I'm not going to close the door behind me. But not everybody gets that opportunity, and it's okay. All I know is that I'm going to make an opportunity. I make things happen for myself, and I'm going to make things happen for myself. If it's at AEW, it's at TNA, if it's at NWA, MLW, if I go back to WWE, who knows? All I know is that all of these major promotions, all of these companies are in a very, very lucky predicament right now because I'm a free agent. And because I'm a free agent, they have someone that's very hot, very ready, and very willing to be an ambassador, to be the best at what they do, and be unashamed about it. I am a very, very sweet guy. I'm a very, very nice guy. I don't have an ego about myself. But one thing that someone in WWE, a real close friend of mine, I won't name names, but he's on the main roster right now. He told me, you got to stop being so humble about yourself. If you're good, it's okay to acknowledge you're good. And I'm damn good. And I'm going without an ego. I'll say that without any of the ego in the world, because I that's something uncomfortable for me. That's not in my wheelhouse, but I am good. And I'm going to continue to be good because that's what I'm driven to do. And once anybody gives me a shot, like I said, whether it's AEW, Ring of Honor, MLW, NWA, TNA, New Japan, wherever, anybody that gives me a chance is going to be happy that they did.
And speaking of giving you a chance, we're going to go ahead and give you a chance to go ahead and promote yourself and to promote what shows you've got coming up already booked, what dates you have free, and how to get a hold of you to fill those dates.
Well, thank you very much. I will go forward with that. So tomorrow, June 5th, I'll be in New York, in Copeg. I want to say it's how it's pronounced. Copeg, New York, for KNS WrestleFest. I will be doing a virtual signing online. So go on their Facebook, check it out. I'm selling some gear, so if you're into that sort of thing. Also, I have a date that is to be announced next Saturday. Next Saturday. I can't say it quite yet. Same with the 27th. It's to be announced. However, I can announce Saturday, the 21st at Ironheart Pro Wrestling in Minnesota, in Rosemount, Minnesota. The 26th, Crew, which is Coastal Real Extreme Wrestling in North Carolina, will be there. I won't spoil the 27th, but the 28th, I will be, as you said, at Blitzkrieg Pro in Enfield, Connecticut, for their big luau, which I'm told is their WrestleMania of sorts. So I'm very excited. What a hell of a debut to make in Connecticut. So I'm very, very excited. I'm open to business, if that's what you call it. I'm open to bookings. So you can contact me at thehavibooking@gmail.com. That's TheJaviBooking. You can also reach me at rbeidels19@gmail.com. That's RBEIDELS19@gmail.com. You guys can also DM me on any of my social medias, and all of my social medias. That's Instagram, that's TikTok, that's X, and that is my Twitch, is CoreKid Javi, CoreKidJavi. I want to be booked everywhere and anywhere. I want to be all over the world. So I want to be in New York tomorrow, and I want to be in Japan on Friday. So let's make that happen however we can do it.
And of course, for all the fans who want to get to know what's going on with him, you can find all that information, as we've had in the ticker below, at beacons.ai/CoreKidJavi. You can find his merch store. You can find the links to all his social media. You can go ahead and book a cameo with him. We have done that in the past firsthand. Asher's, it was the best birthday gift I've ever given Asher.
Oh, that means the world. Thank you.
For myself, for Javi, for Astrid, thank you all for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.